Hello. My name's Cassie. I'm on the Oraphim stall with Rich, and I'm going to boggle your brains a bit and talk about Shungite. Some of you might know a little bit about Shungite, so I'm hoping to expand your knowledge, maybe answer some questions you've got, and some of you might know nothing at all, so we'll go as slowly as we need to. And then I'll take questions as we go, so do feel free to pop your hand up if I've boggled you too much and you want a clarification on something, and then we'll end with some fun stories, a bit more of my journey with Shungite. So I'm going to start with where Shungite comes from. So a lot of people say, oh, it comes from Russia. I'm going to be a bit pedantic and say Finland, because actually it belongs to the Finnish. And the reason I say that is because when you look at Finland and the border of Russia, the border used to be further over into Russia. Now, after the Second World War, the Russians wandered in and said, this bit's ours. Now, when I say this bit, the deposit of Shungite is about 1,000 kilometres square area, which when you think about it is bigger than England. So that was quite a bit of Finland that they said that's ours. So there's definitely something in the Shungite that they knew something or a lot about. Peter the Great also heard about Shungite, so he sent his physicians over and they came back with all sorts of healing stories, and he then gave a piece of Shungite to everyone in his army, so everywhere they went they had purified water. So we're going to talk about how that happens and why they do that. Any questions so far about the Russian-Finland bit? I should say it's the only deposit that has the fullerene molecules coming out of it. And that's why everyone says, oh, you've got to get it from Russia. Yeah, there's another deposit at Kazakhstan, but there's no fullerenes coming out of it. So this is why there's this one deposit. Shungite comes in two forms. So this often boggles people. So you've got the black Shungite and then you've got this silver looking Shungite. They are completely different, but they are the same stone. So often people say, oh, well, is that the polished version of that? It's not, because the unpolished version of this one is very, very dusty and looks very much like coal. Very much like coal. It's not shiny at all. It's very fluffy, very soft, very breakable. Whereas the elite looks completely different. There's a weight difference as well. So if you get to come by the stall, have a feel. It's like floaty light. Very strange. This elite is 1% of the deposit. It's like veins running through the big deposit. So the rest of it is like that coal-looking stuff. The reason we know it's not coal is because we use the torch. So the Shungite, you can see that, is lighting up the torch. Now normally coal doesn't do that. So Shungite is highly electrically conductive, and this is how we test that our Shungite is real and we're not being sold coal. It helps people understand how it works with electrical fields as well, but we'll come on to that a bit later. So Shungite in water, obviously Peter the Great heard about it. So you can put the Shungite in your water. In here I've got my lemon squeezed as well. So as you can see, there's no dusty bits in there, they just wash off. If you keep washing the stones in your hand, you will still keep getting the dust, as you found yesterday. Just rinse them, put them in your water container, and then don't touch them again, because otherwise you'll slough the dust off again. So once they're in there, they're fine, and the dust is completely non-toxic anyway. But you can always put that dusty water on your plants. They'll love it. So don't feel like you're wasting it. The Shungite in your water. So Shungite lowers the surface tension. It reverses the toxins. So you don't get the toxic effect of chlorine and other toxins. And why it's doing that is because you've got this molecule coming out of the stones, and this is called a fullerene, after Buckminster Fuller. This fullerene won the Nobel Prize in 1986 by, I'll tell you who won it. It was Professor Kroto, Smalley and Curl. We reference that bit of information on the back because we think it's really important that you understand the history of the discovery of these things. So they won the prize and they were flicking coal dust through a laser and these molecules were coming off. So again, you've got that connection with carbon and coal, but you've got the connection with the laser electricity. So there's something about that that then creates these molecules. So these molecules are then spinning at 20 billion times a second and working with electrical fields. So what they do with the water is they take anything that's a frequency spin that's spinning that way, which is negative, and anything that's positive, and they turn it positive and exaggerate it. So it becomes expanded. So then you've got that right hand spin in your water. And that remineralises your water as well. Within Shungite, there is every single element on the periodic table, as well as helium-3. The helium-3 only comes from space, so it's a very strange mineraloid. It's definitely not crystal, it's a mineraloid. So what the water can do for you is, with its lowered surface tension, that's then hydrating you better. So most people, when they're drinking water, it's so full of toxins, the body is just passing it through. It's not allowing those toxins to go into the cells. The other thing with chlorine is when we're drinking chlorine, it stops the sulfur in our food from oxygenating our bodies, and we need the oxygenation in our bodies to go into our cells and give the vital energy to our cells to stop, so that the cells can create programmed cell death. If we don't have programmed cell death in our cells, they keep living forever. As we know, that's what cancerous cells are, they won't die, because there's not enough energy in the cells, essentially. So what Shungite is doing is delivering this quantum energy through these molecules straight to your cells. So often people talk about Shungite being an anti-cancer. I hope that helps you understand why they talk about it like that. The other thing that these cells do is they collect the free radicals, up to 30 times more efficient than charcoal. And they just pile and pile and pile up, and they are taken down to the body safely. They also support your liver and kidney functions, because they go and collect in your vital organs. There was a gentleman last year with brain tumours, one behind each eye, and he was drinking grade 2 Shungite water, and his radiation dose got doubled by mistake. And so his wife rang the hospital, obviously in a panic, and his liver and kidney function was normal, and she was pleased and surprised, because again these molecules have gone and supported his liver and kidney function, and so therefore he was fine. So that's using it with water. Shall I just take questions about using it with water at this point? Are there any questions? Yes.
Would you suggest how long you'd leave the Shungite in water? If I put mine in a water filter, I'd never know how.
Yeah, okay, it's a really good question about how long to leave it in the water. So in terms of the frequency of the toxins, they are reversed immediately.
Yeah.
The lower surface tension also happens immediately. It's antibacterial. So on our website there's a scientific study, and that's got results on the antibacterial properties, and he's left them overnight. So over 8 hours, you've got this 99% removal of bacteria. Yeah. It's also antiviral and antihistamine as well. In terms of getting the most amount of fullerenes for healing water, 3 days is good, and the longer you can leave it, the sweeter it gets.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it? The bottom of my big container, I always look forward to that. Yeah. One of the interesting things, if you can leave some as an experiment for a long time.
Right, probably about a year so far that it's been in the bottom of this container.
Okay, but if you leave some for a long time still without using it, you get these silver platelets floating on the top. They're just fun to see.
Yeah, no, I will try that.
Yeah. So that answers the question there, doesn't it? Yeah, brilliant. Yep.
And just in terms of cleaning then, if you put it in like a drinking water bottle,
yep.
how often would you clean it?
You just rinse it. Just rinse it. And the other thing about them is, because they're not absorbing, and we're so used to buying refills, you don't need to buy these again, because they just keep going with the quantum energy coming out of them, so you don't have to replace them. Yeah? Brilliant. Yes?
Does it react to their medication?
So the scientific medical studies talk about people are having medication and drinking the Shungite water, they end up reducing the number of medications they're on. So there's a really good reference book that we use, and that's what that states in there. Yeah.
Is there anybody that shouldn't use it?
Are there, sorry?
Is there anybody that shouldn't use it?
Not that I'm aware of. Now, I did hear there was a lady that came and said to me she felt a bit sick after drinking it, but what she then worked out after listening to me talk about it, she was making it too strong. So she had a big piece in a small amount of water, and she actually just needed to dilute it because it was just passing through her too quickly when she used it. Because it's so detoxing as well. So actually, the other misconception or misinformation that people often get is how much shungite to use with their water. You only need a minimum of 3 in quite a large amount of water. You don't need a lot. So often if you've come by the store at all, I've got you first off playing with stones like this. And it helps people understand what's going on because there's like a magnetic jelly effect going on. And most people can feel it. Some people don't, but most people can. It's very gentle. But once you try and put a magnet to it, because people say, oh, is it magnetic? This is a fridge magnet. You put a magnet to it, there's no magnetism there at all. But between them, there's a quantum magnetic communication, because it's not a push or a pull, it's a bit of both. So it's more of an excitement. So it's the quantum fields you're wobbling around, which is really exciting. So yeah, minimum of 3, because 1 on its own, and the more you get, the more excited they get. You're making these quantum fields interact with each other. I think that might... Oh, cats. If you've got pets, quite often you get a film on the cat's water bowl. That's a bacteria from the cat's tongue. Put 3 stones in their water bowl, you don't get that film anymore. Shungite's really good at showing you how it's working. So that's a really nice little experiment to do. Any more questions on the water at the moment? No, I think we've covered it. Yes?
Is it okay for pregnancy?
Oh, I can't see why not. I mean, it's just purifying your water. You're getting rid of the toxins, you're getting rid of the chlorine, you're getting that quantum energy straight into you. Yeah, brilliant. So everything I've said about it reversing the toxins in the water is also the same through the air. So we learnt about Shungite from Nancy Hopkins. We referenced her on the back as well so that people can check her work out. She works with Walt Silver. She used to be the Wi-Fi weapons expert for the US military as an intelligence officer. And then when she retired, she's also learnt to remote view, and she then found Shungite. So she has she studies I can't say it now, the study of energy. And she can remote view what's happening with energy. So she remote views what's happening with Shungite. So quite often people say to me about Shungite that it reverses all the EMFs and the 4G and the 5G and everything. And, you know, I'm going to reference Nancy's work on this. And it doesn't do quite everything that people are led to believe. So if it's a stone on its own, the Shungite stone on its own will reverse a sine wave, which is like your plug-in hairdryer, electricity, will reverse it because it's spinning the wrong way. But when it comes to your Wi-Fi and your 4G and your mobile phones, that is a square wave, and it's also spinning the wrong way. So from learning from Nancy, we learned how to infuse the Shungite powder with liquefied silver. So Rich liquefies 99.9% silver into like a colloidal silver solution, but that's in the 30s parts per million. Normally when you buy colloidal silver, it'd be about 10 parts per million, so it's safe for ingesting. But this actually looks silver. And then we soak the powder, and it goes all silvery, and then we dry it and bake it and repowder it, and it goes back to black, and it's complete different density, complete different vibration. And energy sensitive people pick up the two and go, oh yeah, complete different thing. And what that does is that gives a permanency to that frequency shift, and also will make the square wave into a sine wave. So when you're walking through a room and you're changing the frequency, you want that obviously change to be permanent. So the silver infused products that we make, or that Nancy makes as well, they do that permanent change to the frequency. So it's military grade, as I like to say. So, any questions on that so far? Yes.
So just so with regards to they talk about having rock salt lamps.
Yes.
Take away all the bad. So just explain the difference. I've got rock salt lamps all over the house.
Sure.
That work, and anyone that does French or anything like that, you can energetically clear rooms and change all the vibrations and things.
Yeah.
So why would this work better? Would it work in harmony? Would it counteract anything? Or
Sure. So I can only talk from the perspective of Shungite really, because I don't know huge amounts about salt lamps, but I do know they change the toxicity in the environment and are absorbing. With Shungite, it's not absorbing, so it's giving out this quantum energy. The silver infused Shungite also works like a doorstop to the quantum field. So with Shungite on its own, it's flipping open and closed all the time to the quantum field. But we've got 4G and our smartphones are on all the time. So you want that protection just to be on. So the silver infused Shungite is always on and is then always pushing this quantum field energy to do that transformation. So in terms of your environment, in terms of sort of pairing it up against a salt lamp, we're talking about square waves. So you don't find square waves in nature. There's nothing square with right angles in nature. So things like the Shungite stone on its own struggle when it comes to a square wave. So when it pairs up with the silver, it then takes that square wave into a sine wave, then reverses its spin. Does that kind of help answer your question?
So would you have just one piece within the centre of the house in one unit? Does it help the whole house, or do you need a piece in each room, or how would that work?
This picture might help.
Oh, okay.
Straight through. I'm just being videoed. This is my last talk of the year. With this picture, what you've got there is the electrical field of a person. So Shungite pairs itself with electrical fields. So because it's electrically conductive, like I showed you in the torch. So if you've got, we do Shungite stickers. If you put the sticker on your Wi-Fi router, that then frequency is reversed and expanded going throughout your home. Yeah? So if you're wearing it, it's working directly with your electrical field. So wherever you're going with your electrical field, everything that you're walking through is being transformed permanently. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah? Brilliant.
And what you say the science is all behind this as well?
Yeah, on our website we've got a link to some really interesting scientific studies that aren't too sciencey. I've got pictures, but it helps people understand. But even on that scientific study, it is limited because they're talking about it from the perspective of their kind of science experiments in their labs, and we're using silver infused Shungite. And so we reference Nancy Hopkins more regularly because she can remote view and then she comes up with experiments to prove what she's saying. So there's a little bit of difference. Yeah. Where have I got to with that? Any questions?
I was going to ask something here, me.
Yes.
Sorry. So, for example, with the silver infused Shungite,
Yeah.
say your jewellery, for example,
Yeah.
if you were wearing some of the jewellery and you were just sort of walking either into a room or out and about, would that prevent sort of like a field to hopefully prevent, you know, the detrimental effects of 4 and 5G? Or
So wherever you're walking with silver infused Shungite, what it's doing is it's reversing the sine waves and taking that square wave into a sine wave and reversing it permanently. When it comes to 5G, 5G is a whole other animal. 5G, you know, if you put your Shungite on your head and put your head in the microwave and turn it on, your brain is going to fry. You know, let's not say that we'll all be all right. 5G is not going to be all right. You know, even if the tests turn out that 5G and Shungite solves it, everything around you is getting fried by 5G. But what Nancy talks about in terms of 5G is that it is putting us on a level playing field. And this is because the molecule here has the pentagon and the base chakra in its structure. And so what you're doing with Shungite is it's pairing up with your heart space, your base chakra. This is also the ley line grid of Earth. And then you've got the quantum field coming through and accessing your heart's desire for your experience here on Earth. So your manifesting becomes potent, and your opportunities and your reality can see you much better because your whole electrical field has become your optimum best. So there's so much more that Shungite does on an individual level in terms of how we go forward with our fight against 5G. So I'm not going to say, oh yeah, everything's really cosy. It's not. But we have got our heart's desire and our manifesting power as manifesting beings here on earth, which is what you've come to experience, which is why all the disincarnate spirits are after getting inside you, which is why Shungite's another protecting layer to that. It's really important to be really happy inside yourself, because your body takes your thoughts and you make matter. And you shift things from left to right and drive cars and experience this magical realm, which they can't experience anymore. So Shungite really brings that element of what we want here and now in our life experience for this planet to a much kind of sharper reality that's really fantastic, really powerful. If I've got time, I'll share some of these manifesting stories a bit further on. Does that answer the questions about the kind of frequencies through the air? Brilliant. So in terms of the stickers that we do, I put them. Silver infused. There's 4 in that pack there for a £5, or we do a pack of 12 for £10. So you're just putting them on your mobile phone, your tablets, your laptops, your Wi-Fi routers, anything like that. Quite often people say their phones don't get hot anymore. I'll explain why. Again, it's about this frequency spinning that way that's coming out of your phone, and the components of your phone, however manufactured they are, they're still natural things, are spinning that way. So here you're getting this friction, which creates the heat. So the Shungite is spinning everything that way, and there you're not getting the friction, so often the heat is much reduced. You can also put one on the black box on the cable on your laptop. That gets really hot. So there's lots of, again, it's another tangible evidence that often people say, oh yeah, you're right, my phone doesn't get hot anymore. So that's brilliant. We do fridge magnets. Again, it's a kind of similar principle. You're reversing the electrical field on your fridge, where you're putting your food that you're trying to keep alive longer, and often people's fridges drop in temperature. So there was Dustin, I like to mention Dustin, his carrots froze overnight. So he had to turn the temperature dial up, so his fridge is now using less electricity. So again, it's working with those electrical currents to save energy, but to make that in whole electrical environment, it's at optimum best on less energy. So there is, again, some strange correlations with Shungite electricity. I'll move on to mention some of the other things. We teamed up with Susie at Alchemisti, and she makes our balm and our soap. We're talking about electrical fields again. We talk about cleansing our auras and do all sorts of spiritual cleansing, but you can just do it with a soap. Because a lot of our anxiety is kept in our electrical field, the Shungite cleanses your electrical field. So she made us this really gorgeous organic soap, and it's just really lovely to use. But if you listen very carefully, Shungite will sometimes talk to you. So it said to me one day after a very busy show, I'm just going to wash all of those energies that you've been in that room just off you. And I said, oh, thanks. Really great. She did the balm for us. I had a nasty case of eczema, on my leg. Nothing was shifting it. Even when I put the Shungite powder in a coconut oil or in an aloe vera, it would take the itch away, but it wasn't shifting the eczema as I wanted it to. So Susie is an excellent alchemist, so I gave her my bag of Shungite and said, please make me a balm. She did. 5 days later, the itch had gone, the pus had gone, and it's cleared up. It also works on burns and bites immediately, takes the pain away straight away. So when I burnt my finger on the cooker, there was no pain because I put the balm straight on. But pain came back a few hours later when the balm had worn away. I put more balm on and the pain went away. Really amazing stuff. I use it as a night cream, a day cream. All of her ingredients are completely vegan and 100% organic. And they're all, for the balm, it's all about skin repair. So it's super fast skin repair. It's a repeat seller on Etsy. It's very popular. She can't make it. She's struggling to keep up with demand on that one. We also do the eye masks. It's got the mixture of the Elite Grade 1 and Grade 2 and silver infused. Again, we're getting so many EMF frequencies, fluorescent lights, LED light damage through our eyes. I really wanted to do something to help repair those, so that's what they're intended for. But there was a lady who was 72, and she emailed me back and she said, I've got so much energy, which I haven't had before. And again, she was just using the Shungite through her eyes. And another gentleman in his 70s said, my goodness, that was the best night's sleep I've had in years. So Shungite's an adaptogen, so it really does work with you on the level that you need it to. Because it isn't a crystal, it can't be programmed to do one thing or the other. It's working with you. So it's really phenomenal stuff. I'll say a bit more about, we do a couple of packs. This is our like mini starter kit. You've got the 50-gram stones for the water, a little bag so you can put some in the bath. There's a fridge magnet, there's 4 device stickers there, and 2 laminated ones. I haven't mentioned them yet. You laminate the stickers so you can put them in your shoes. If you've had a play of the stones and felt that magnetic field, you'll understand when you get that up through your meridian system, there's all sorts of lovely effects. One lady, it was taking the pain away from her hips. For me, it was an emotional change, the way I was able to step back from my reactionary nature with my negative neighbours and just go, that wasn't going to be helpful if I said that. And it's not a depression kind of antidepressive in that I couldn't feel that upset. I'm still here to experience that, but I was able to be more in control of my reactions, which is obviously more helpful. We do a bigger pack if you really want to have a really good explore with Shungite. So in there you've got 8 device stickers, 2 pairs of laminated ones, and then we put in a piece of the elite stone and a piece of the normal black stone polished. You've got the 50 grams for the water, the rough stones, a balm, a soap, one of these hair bubble ones I call transformers, because when you realise you don't need to put the Shungite in the water because it's creating that field around it, these are really great because I couldn't get the stones in my garden hose. So it's like, right, put the Shungite powder into a thing with a hair bubble. I can wrap it round. Also wraps around my taps, your wine bottles, your beer bottles, you know, or your water bottle, and you can take it anywhere. Or, as my partner said when he came out in the garden when I was making these, oh, you've made hair bubbles. I said, oh, I suppose I have. So yeah, really versatile way of using Shungite. So in there, you've also got a little bag of Shungite powder. A tip of a teaspoon's worth in your shampoo, your conditioner, your washing liquids for your washing machines. Again, you're getting that kind of auric cleanse, but it's also creating the quality of your conditioners and shampoos gets better, and it accentuates the smell on things, which is nice and odd. You've also got 2 fridge magnets in there, and then we ask you to choose a pendant and a little pyramid, and that's £45 today. So it's a bit like bumper pack, and you really get to play. We haven't left out the pets. I'm going to just mention, because people say, well, what about my cat and my dog? So we have got the cat collars, they're the pretty ones, and then we do the more robust ones for the dogs. Again, people come back for them because they go, oh, my old tired cat was just got all sleek and gorgeous. So yeah, really lovely feedback. With the shower heads, if you realise you don't want to drink the chlorinated water, you might work out you don't want to wash in it either. Your skin is your biggest organ. It takes apparently 17 seconds for the chemicals to get through that skin into you. So purifying your water, like you're washing in, you're again not breathing in that chlorine smell. These happen to be energy saving, 30% reduction water head sprays with these ionising balms in as well. So super duper shower heads. What else have I not talked about on the table? I think I've kind of covered most things. There's a couple of things in development, because as you can tell we're a bit inventive. So I've got this not very pretty thing, but it's to go around the fuel line of your car. So a few people are testing them and coming back with great stories about fuel economy and their cars running better. So if you're interested in them, just keep an eye out for when I launch them. This one is from Walt Silver and Nancy. This is called a resonator, if you look on their website for that. But we're looking at doing a version. And what it did was it goes on the power line for where we used to live, which was a big Grange. And they saved, I mean, it was a big retreat centre, but they saved £20,000 in 1 year on their energy bill. And we've put the fridge magnets on all of the boilers, all of the fridges, anything electrical, all of the radiators. we put the fridge magnet. So everywhere the electricity gets to, it gets excited even more. Oh yeah, we had a friend of ours put one of our stickers on a cable reel by his chair because he had some annoying lamp, but he hadn't unwound the cable reel. So the electricity got so excited, and then it went and burst his cooker. Shungite really does reverse and expand the electricity, and then it has to go somewhere. So it unfortunately did pop his very old cooker. But again, it's another proof that what we're saying is Shungite reverses the frequency and expands it, so it becomes expansive. One of the things we found with the stickers is we put one of our stickers on the Wi-Fi router. We were very far away from the Wi-Fi router with our laptop, and we were getting barely 1 bar on the laptop, on the internet connection. We put the sticker on and it jumps to 4 bars. Again, we're talking about this wave being, instead of going that way, which is into entropy, we've expanded it, and it's now expanded and become much bigger. So other people say to us, oh, I can now get my Wi-Fi in the garden, which I didn't used to before. Another lady went and put one of the stickers on the water in pipe of the washing machine. She emailed me about it. I thought, yeah, that's interesting. I'd never think of doing that. And she said, now my washing machine is frothy at low temperatures. And that really just is another bit of proof to prove that if you're using the Shungite to improve your water, it doesn't need to touch the water. It's lowering the surface tension instantly. And so, and it's also, you know, proving that that very little bit in the sticker is really phenomenal. Any questions so far? Pardon?
Could you almost overdo it?
Can you overdo it?
Yeah, it's almost when you're saying that you perhaps you think, do I put everything everywhere? Do I have one thing?
I live
you
around.
over?
I live around it.
Okay.
We've got pyramids. We've got things being made all over the place. I probably don't rest and chill out as much as I should. But me and Rich are both manifesting generators, so we just get on and do stuff. So often people find that their energy levels really kind of ramp up. There was a lady, she got one of the larger pyramids, and on the Sunday she came back and she said, I haven't been able to channel for 4 years, and last night I was channeling like I've never channeled before. She said, I've had chronic fatigue for 25 years, and overnight I've got all this energy and I feel like I'm getting my life back and I can go and do it. So the thing about Shungite is this quantum field, and it's instant. So often people have these overnight success stories, and it's lucky when we do a 2-day show because they come back and tell us on the Sunday. It's really amazing. Another couple had a bigger pyramid on the Saturday. They'd bought it for their son as a present. Well, they came back on the Sunday and she said, well, my husband was thinking it was all a bit of a swizz until we opened the box, and the energy was the opposite to what he was expecting it to be, in temperature-wise, whether it was hot or cold or the other way around, I can't quite remember. But then his arthritis has eased up overnight, and now we have to have one. So again, because it's this adaptogen, it's really working to cleanse your environment of all those toxins that are holding you back, and then give you this quantum energy that's then working with your electrical field to create the most optimum frequency for you to experience your optimum best. How's about that then? It's a bit of a mind boggler, and often I say to people, come up with your own experiment. What can Shungite show you? If there was a little experiment, whether it was a heat experiment or whether it was a wellness experiment, or yeah, often people come up with like the lady with the water pipe on her washing machine. People come back with all sorts of stories, and so what we're doing is putting the Shungite into so many different products. So you'll see our table is a bit jam-packed, but it allows people to kind of just pick and choose what they need for their environments. I'll just say a little bit more, because there's things that we do that aren't there on the store. If you've ever heard of a cloudbuster, which is William Wright technology, we make them with our silver infused Shungite. We do often bring them to stores, but I knew there was going to be tight on space. But often people run their hands over the top and you can feel a little wind coming up. They're that powerful. And what happened, the first one we made, was at 2:30 in the morning, I'm clapped awake. And I'm woken up and I am transported to it and I'm put underneath it. puts a bubble around me, and it sends a ripple of light like on a pond out, and it travels me on this light wave. And it was just phenomenal. And then it put me back in bed. And it was really showing me about timeline cleansing. For a timeline, it's not a straight line. Your past is behind you and your future is in front of you. And I've already experienced time move sideways to make things happen for me. So I understand it's like cogs in a big clock, moving forwards and backwards. So for the timeline to be cleansed by these devices, it is a ring that just comes out from you. So it put me in it and moved me along it. It was phenomenal. I'll just say a little bit about Rich and I. Rich used to work in the operating theatres as a technician and had to leave because cutting things out of people really isn't curing anybody. That's one of his stories. My past was, last 20 years or 20 years ago, I discovered these shapes and made geodesic dome tents. So when I came across Shungite, it wasn't for ages that I realised actually I knew this molecule really well, because I'd been putting it up and down for nearly 20 years in all sorts of fields for the summer, doing all sorts of community art activities, workshops, having people and families connect with each other. It's real lovely heart space. And people would have these sparking ideas and then go, oh yeah, let's go and do it, and bring it into reality. And again, it's about this molecule shape, because that's your heart shape, and that's grounding it here on Earth. So when I was discovering, actually, I'm really okay to do this. This is my job. So I'm so pleased to be able to bring this to more people. So yeah, feel really honoured that I have this real close connection with this molecule. Any questions? Yes.
Will it cleanse your crystals then?
So that's a really good question, because the Shungite, because it's emitting this quantum energy and it's not absorbing, it can cleanse your other crystals. Yeah? Brilliant. Yeah? Any more questions? Yeah?
You take car payments.
We do take payments. You just have to go for a walk to the car, because there's no connectivity in that hall, so we just have to walk outside.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're also doing cashback on the front desk as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Any more questions on Shungite?
So I do loads of holistic focus and healing and a lot of energy medicine work,
Yeah.
especially with guys like over in Mind Valley, over in Oraphim and stuff.
Right.
So I don't know if you've worked with that and that
No.
kind of sort of energy. I'm interested to know, to see the difference. I'm going to get some,
Yeah.
so I will feedback on how
Yeah.
that works with particularly arthritis and fibromyalgia.
Sure,
I've
yeah.
worked with a pain support group, so I'm
Yeah.
quite intrigued on.
We
how
did
that
have a
works.
lady who was a Reiki master at one of the previous shows we did. She picked up a pendant from us on the Saturday, and on the Sunday she said, I normally wake up with neck ache, which I've not woken up with this morning. But she said, now my Reiki is full of colour, which it's never been before. So again, it's about that potential. You're already doing what you need to be doing, but it just,
Another level.
that icing on the top. Yeah. And because again, it's about us experiencing our potential best here in this magical realm that we're in. But for a lot of reasons, we're kind of being curtailed and kind of suppressed and depressed. And this molecule can't be squashed. There's a vacuum in there, and quantum energy. You cannot be depressed in the way that you were. And so it is about this potential that you can then reach. So it's a really exciting journey. We're just on the beginning of the journey. Rich and I have been playing with Shungite for nearly 5 years. I only started developing jewellery, not this spring, but the spring before. So as you see, we're kind of, moving quite fast. People are coming back with their stories and their experiments and telling us about it. We have got a website which is www.oraphim.net. So come and visit us on there, give us some feedback. We've also got a Facebook page which is Oraphim, and the Etsy shop is also Oraphim. So do come by and come and chat to us and give us your feedback. You've got no question?
Yeah, it's just about the prestige of your emotional capacity with it, even though that Shungite's all physical. Is there any emotional, like the jewellery as well as just being
Yes.
protected?
So in terms of your emotional development, what I was saying about the laminated Shungite in my shoes, what I found was there is this emotional kind of being in control instead of led by my reactions, which would then give me a depression. Because obviously if I'm upset by my neighbours and then I react and then I focus on that and think, oh, that didn't help, it's going to get me down. So instead it gives me this kind of ability to be more in control and then be proud of myself and not be led by the situation. Yeah.
Keeps you grounded.
So Shungite, again, it's this shape in the molecule is about grounding. This is our grounding to this realm, and this is our heart's desires, because this is why we've come here to experience our heart's desires in this realm. So yes, very, very interesting. There's probably more I could talk about. There's bits about ingesting Shungite that some people do. Some people mix it with honey. So there's a bit of that people can play with, but that's totally, it's a very personal journey. So maybe because a lot of people talk about C60, there's synthetic C60. Well, this is the natural C60, but you are getting it through the water already when you're using Shungite water. So I hope that's kind of perked your interest, answered some of your questions, maybe brought up some new ones. But maybe through your journey you'll answer those. Shungite has a sentience behind it. If you're getting a headache with Shungite, it's because it's detoxing you so fast. Again, because it's so instant. Because it has a sentience behind it, just ask it to slow down. It's a real personal journey. It's like your new best friend. It's such a lovely connection. Yeah, I think that's probably as much as I can fill your brains with today. Thank you ever so much. Thank you.